The JSH Story, a Retrospective, Part 1. Every story has its beginning, and every author has their newbie game. This is JSH 357's. OHR Land's very first look at JSH's work was with Duck and MJ in early 2000. Though not his very first game, that role fulfilled by the never-released but later remade Super Joe RPG, it was his first released. The story is as confusing as it is stupid, with Duck being thrust into another world for no apparent reason. Of course, he also loses his memory. After wandering around and having people join his party for no reason, a magical spear tells him to go become a knight. Just when you think he's gotten back to his original world since he's encountering his old friends, it turns out he's still somewhere else and has to collect the power of 8 stone guardians. Never mind, he's already encountered 2 of his friends who apparently aren't suffering from amnesia, but don't seem to really care that they're somewhere else. Their class changes into a dragoon and samurai are clearly more important. Party members leave and join your party for no reason constantly, generally accompanied by nonsensical dialogue. It's not all bad, though. One of the battles actually contains some minor strategy in how you attack, by providing constantly respawning enemies, perhaps a little indicator of JSH's future Thanksgiving quest. Any further battle system cleverness is missed, since the encounter rate is so sky high, it's hard to avoid skipping battles for too long. At the very least, some effort was put into it, with a variety of equipment and abilities across the game's cast. The game even features occasional humor that's not entirely terrible and is probably influenced by Earthbound. While most newbie games have the mercy to stop, the young JSH was far too persistent for his own good. Eventually, the game breaks down to nearly unplayable without advice from the creator himself, requiring specific party members for specific areas with little indication of where or why. The best way to explain it is from a direct quotation from the modern JSH as to how to play this monster.
There you meet Kang and climb the Zozo invitation, and get Tatna and Chunky. Chunky needs to find the 8 summons, which are at the statues, and some of them aren't obvious, I noticed. One is in the village where you meet Pingu, and I had forgotten all about it, but you went and talked to all those statues without Chunky. Also, because I was a dumbass, you can't F4, you have to kill the bosses to get the summon items. Once you get all 7, go back to the temple and fight Thor. He'll tell you to backtrack to the beach where you got the spear, and from there you'll enter the X dimension. It can warp to World 2, which is a long series of linear areas, and there's lots of events where you need a specific character in your party. Christ, it's annoying. Anyway, once you finish all this, you have to walk all the way back to the X dimension and warp to World 3. The demo ends shortly afterward when Duck gets kidnapped and Hangtime joins you. Anyway, after Hangtime joins, I think he helps you defeat Invincible, who had kidnapped Duck. And you get him back, but Hangtime is destroyed, and you fight Dark Fang and his minions again. And, I forgot what the last boss was, but it was basically like the one from Query. Also, in World 2, there are 18 hidden rings, I think. And if you get all 18, you can enter a side quest area from the X dimension and fight a super boss, who is a smiley face named Bob. He appears at the beginning of Duck and MJ2, and that's all I remember from that game.
To top it off, the game includes several powerful map designs, such as a map where you hold the left arrow key from one side of a hallway to another, exactly one tile in width and near infinite in length. It is said that you actually get to backtrack this map later on. Other level design gems include a dungeon that forces you to walk on damaging tiles, completely randomly placed obstructions that let you walk past half the dungeon, talking NPCs that you can push, and a moving shopkeeper you can only talk to from one tile. I'm sure there are more examples if someone was actually capable of beating this game. For a newbie game, this game isn't that terrible compared to its peers, and it shows a little bit of where JSH ended up developing. But it's still too painful to actually play through the entirety between the two frequent battles, difficulty of figuring out where you're supposed to go, and on a twist on the newbie formula, a length that will leave you crying. The game later received a remake titled Duck and MJ 1/2, which has long been forgotten to time since JSH is a complete failure at backing up his work. Next month, we look at Duck and MJ 2, the inevitable newbie sequel to an unfinished game.